Hey everybody, David Skarica here. So this is like a beautiful day. So this is called Golden Key, but it's spelled like, I guess it's pronounced that way, but it's like Gaulding, like Gaulding. So this is on the Caribbean side. You see those nice palm trees up there? There's a guy named Cindy Torres. He rebuilt a resort here called the Cove. And then actually a friend of mine owned this house that's kind of on this little cliff up here. And he bought it from him and then he loves palm trees, as you can see. So he took all the regular bush out, like it's kind of this thing. I'll tell you a story about this house in a second. My friend actually rents it. Anyhow, so Cindy tore this out, and he's built. It's a kind of like boutique type resort. I think it only has like 10 or 12 rooms, but it's like really expensive and really nice. And he said he loves his palm trees. So this house here, this kind of purplish, blue house, that was Hayden Christensen's house. You know, the guy who played Darth Vader or Anakin Skywalker in the crappy movies, right? So my friend who works for Lenny Kravitz, guy from Ottawa, he just rents it now. So what happened with Hayden Christensen is he came to the island, kind of like while he was making those movies, and there's these little like sand flies, microscopic flies here, and they're called no-see-ums, and I guess these no-see-ums beat him up. Like he had an allergic reaction to them, and then he basically never came back, and then he never sold the house, and he bought it right at like it's probably at the time was worth $600,000 or $700,000. It's probably worth north of $1 million again. So what property prices have done here, but he paid $1 million for it because it was the top of the bubble, and he probably didn't care. He had Star Wars money, and then it was a weird thing because I guess his mom used to come here, and then but like he didn't have a good relationship with his mom or something. I'm like, don't quote me on this, right? This is what I heard. And then so his mom was like hitchhiking and stuff, like trying to get to like the house, which is, you know, she's Darth Vader's mom, you know, and so it was a really weird thing. And the house kind of was going into really bad shape, and then I guess these friends of mine who rent it, they kind of fixed it up. So there's this little celebrity story. So yeah, actually, you know, Lenny Kravitz just around this cove where that house is. So I guess I can't remember his name. Is the guy who was the director of the Butler movie, because Lenny had a small role in that. They are good friends, and he bought that house, and then he decided he didn't want it. I guess Lenny bought it back from him. But just after that cove, he's got a little beach. It's more like a little inlet. Not nearly as large as this beach, and that's just kind of like a little private beach. Yeah. So anyhow, markets. I don't know. Like the market's kind of dead. Like I know, like it's kind of maybe some indices are hitting new highs. I think the 55-day rule thing is done. Like it's not going to happen this fall. Just the way the market's trading, and I think again, the whole "don't fight the Fed" thing is in the market's favor right now because now people want a 50 basis point rate cut because the weak employment numbers, you know, from March of 2024 to 2025, they just downgraded the jobs numbers by 910,000. So that's either corruption or incompetence or probably both. So that's good for gold and silver. And I'll talk about some macro gold and silver stuff in another video, but people understand this is not a trade right now. This is basically a currency reset. Ray Dalio's talked a lot about this. This is basically there's too much debt, you know, in the system. So that's why you're seeing gold and silver acting so strong compared to these rallies, because it's not a trade. It's essentially fiat currencies because of all the debt, especially in the Western world, being kind of reset, you know? So that's what's kind of going on. So, yeah, so that I still have those trades on just as in my pay service, I have them on just as a hedge. And but I'm not really expecting much of it. Like at this point, I'm just kind of expecting maybe a correction. If we are starting a bear market, I think it'd be more like this is the summer of 2007 or spring of 2000. This is that first kind of break. And then we'll probably get a rally into the end of the year, and then the decline wouldn't really start the next year. That's increasingly how I feel, especially with the Fed probably going to cut 75 basis points from now to the end of the year. Now, of course, if this correction got a little more out of control and something happens in credit markets, you know, there's also some other caveats out there. Maybe in October, we get a negative jobs number that makes it look like we're in a recession. Maybe the Supreme Court overthrows Trump's tariffs, and then all of a sudden there's all this uncertainty. So there's certain things that can happen. That's why I'm hedged, and the whatnot. So, and even though the U.S. 10-year bond is rallying, a lot of other 10-year bonds in places like UK, Spain, Japan have not been rallying. So that's kind of interesting as well. So we'll see what happens. Anyhow, I guess that's it. I'll leave it from this beautiful view of those palm trees. There is a lot of seaweed on this beach because we had a storm here. So there's another house there. So this is the Caribbean side. When I do those videos, I usually do them in Surfers Beach. That's the beach near my house, and that's on the Atlantic side. So that's what's so cool about this island. Like literally, I went to the Surfers Beach. I didn't do a video from there today because I knew I was going to do it from here tonight. So literally, I walked on the Atlantic this morning, and I'm walking on the Caribbean this evening. It's pretty cool. Not many other places you can say you get access to two oceans like that. You know, like in Central America, I guess you're kind of close to the Caribbean and the Pacific, but you know, you still have to drive, you know, a few hundred miles or something, you know. So, you know, here literally the island is so thin. It's like in some areas, it's just a few hundred feet wide. In some areas, a half a mile. In some areas, a full mile. But virtually in all the island, if you wanted to, you could walk from one side to the other in terms of walking to the oceans, as long as the area isn't got too much bush. Anyhow, that's it.